Hey guys, Joe Miles here with ASIO Gear. This is the Mission Whitetail podcast. We're going to be doing a deep dive into what it truly takes to kill these mature bucks. We're going to step outside the box and look at the why for gear, tactics, training, and more importantly, the mindset from over 35 years of chasing these magnificent animals all over North America. Thank you for following along and welcome to Mission Whitetail.
Mission Whitetail, episode 92. We are back, Andrew and I, in the studio, and as promised, we got a Q&A going. Got some really good questions. Update, I guess, on the season real quick, as I went to Alberta and did not have any luck. It was really hot, really dry. I had about a 150-inch 10-point that we were after. Came in behind us in that spruce forest. He was supposed to come out into a field like he had done a couple afternoons in a row, and he came in behind us. Could not get a shot. He was definitely in range, and I'm sure that we're going to put a reel or video together of that can be seen either on the ASIO YouTube or the Mission Whitetail YouTube channels or social medias for both of those. But long story short, he fed in behind us and kind of fed down past us, turned around and browsed right back by us. Never had a clue we were in the world. Popped out in the field later that evening at about 80 yards, and that's as close as he ever got. Mule deer were not great. Saw one big deer, but we could not get permission to hunt on the farm that he was on, and we saw him in the morning and watched him all morning, watched him go in bed. He came back out that evening. We were watching him that evening, hoping, that's the word, hoping he would go to a property that we could hunt. And he did not do that. He stayed right on that farm. I think he knew he was safe there. So anyway, long story short, again, we came home empty-handed, but as part of it, the dryness and heat, not making excuses, but that is exactly what happened, and that is exactly what happens in hunts. So when this is airing, I am probably going to be back in Africa. I got one more trip over there, headed to Tanzania to hunt Cape Buffalo in western Tanzania. So very excited about that. And when I get home from there, it will be all whitetail, whitetail, whitetail. I did get invited back to that place in Texas, the ranch where I shot the 204 last year. They've sent me a few pictures, and there are some really good deer down there again this year. So excited to go down there and hunt. I'm going to be doing that in October. And then looking at Kansas and Ohio. Don't know about Ohio. I'm hearing horror stories about EHD. So hopefully they get some rain up there soon and it kind of cures that up. But let's now dive right into the Q&A. The first one is guy wants to get an update on the South Carolina Congaree River Swamp buck. That deer has become a legend, hadn't he, Andrew? We did the last podcast we did with Adam Hayes. They were that's Wells. He came in, but I hope they're not moving those boxes in here. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to derail the podcast, but Mr. Wells is walking into the office. He's live in the middle of the podcast. Welcome, Wells. How are you today, sir? Good. Everybody's doing great. Swamp buck. I mentioned this earlier. I am pretty sure that he is alive. I got pictures of a buck that looks exactly like him, but he is a 9-point this year, and I literally got one night picture of him walking away by a mineral site, and then I got another picture of him at another mineral site, literally there less than a minute, and just traveling through, and it was right before that flood hit or as the flood was coming. So I really got to move some stuff around in there, and when I get home, I've got my rut funnel set up where he was working through all last year. So I've got that set up and ready to go. but I would like to move some cameras around and see if I can find him. So I think I am 90% sure he's still alive, and hopefully we'll get a crack at him. Next question is about the Bobby Worthington class. Guy wants to know if we're going to be doing those classes again and what is the latest on the online version of the class. Yes, the Bobby Worthington field course will be offered again. I do think that we're only going to do 2 of them. We're going to do a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's going to be limited to like 20 guys this year. We did 40 last year, and it was a little much. So this year I think it's going to be about 20 guys. That is held at Bobby's home farm that he manages, and it will be in the month of March or April. We will set the dates towards the end of October. It's an afternoon in the classroom with Bobby going over his entire philosophy of whitetail hunting. Then it is a full day. I'm talking 7:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon in the woods, going through and dissecting trail systems and rut funnels, followed by another half day of that in the morning all the way up until lunchtime. Valuable, valuable, valuable course. And guess what? We are going to be offering it online. There's going to be an online version for guys that can't get out to the field course, or it's full, maybe it's a little too pricey, whatever it may be. There's going to be an online version. Andrew, Wells, Cole, myself, we have been working tirelessly the last week to get this thing up and going by early to mid-October. That's the plan. We're going to release it. Price point's going to be a lot better, and it basically is going to take the entire course, the entire process of Bobby's philosophy in the classroom. We filmed all of that. That's going to be available in the course, and then we're going to dissect every funnel that we went through from a aerial perspective, so you can see it from a topo and an aerial perspective with graphics showing exactly how the trails work. And then it's going to pivot over to Bobby actually in the class on the ground walking through. But it's hard to see on video with him talking and showing, so that's why we want to relay it over to the map so you can see like the topography and the topo of how those drainages set up and where the trail systems are. It's going to show where the stands need to be. It's going to show what wind direction. It's going to go show the trail systems, where to put the mock scrapes, where to put the trail cameras. It really is, in my opinion, will be the best big woods rut hunting course available online, period. The amount of knowledge in that man's head is impressive, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to bring it to everybody that wants to be a part of it can now get it. For any of our Amish listeners out there, it will be available online. If you've got access to a library or an iPad or whatever it may be, you can get the course and you can go, and it's just a simple login system where you have you pay for the course, and then you type in your username and your passcode, and you can log right in. You don't have to have a home computer or anything. You can go to a library or somewhere that has access to the internet or an iPad or whatever it may be, and watch the entire course. Enough about that. All right, completely shifting gears. My good buddy Glenn Newswanger meets in Ohio. These guys win, seems like every cook-off meat challenge with their brisket, their hot dogs. Natalie and I eat their hot dogs like they're going out of style. The brisket's incredible. We got them to cut some steaks for us. They sent us down some ribeyes. We actually even got some Wagyu ribeyes from them, and I did not really do the math as well as I should have on the Wagyu. I think I told Glenn I wanted 2 full ribeyes cut into steaks, and I am still putting money back into my piggy bank to pay for those. So nothing that Glenn did or Newswanger did. That's just the cost of the meat. But it was they are absolutely delicious. Actually pulled a couple of the last few out and I'm going to grill those up tonight. But Glenn's question was, what is your favorite cut of wild game meat and what is your favorite recipe? And what is your favorite wild game meat, period? I absolutely love venison. I love elk. I like moose. I like caribou. I love all of those. The best meat that I have had has been the inside fillets of an eland in Africa. An eland is a great big giant. They're the largest antelope in the world. I mean, bigger than a cow. And maybe not bigger than, well, yeah, I think they are bigger than a cow. They're about 2,000 pounds. I don't know. What does a full-grown cow weigh? Anybody know? I don't know. Anyway, they're massive. It's the largest antelope in the world. And the inside fillets, you know, when we get one, they'll obviously butcher those out and then grill them. The last one I had, they had soaked it in buttermilk for like 12 hours and then seasoned it and did it over some type of lead wood or something that made these unbelievable coals. And I'm telling you, I had the meat sweats when I was done eating all of that. So yeah, that was the by far the best wild game meat I've ever had, eland fillet. I'm going to give you a quick recipe of how I like to do whitetail backstraps. I've talked about this before on a podcast, I think years ago, but I'll hit on it again. So what I like to do is take, and Natalie helps me with this because she's really the cook in the family. I do most of the grilling, but she's an awesome cook. I will spiral cut a backstrap. And if you don't know what spiral cutting is, YouTube it and you can see it. Basically does like a corkscrew so that the entire backstrap lays out thin and flat. And then I will take spicy either venison sausage or just some spicy Jimmy Dean sausage, and I'll brown that up. We will put caramelized onions. We will put mushrooms, and we will put cream cheese in that mixture. And then we will take tame jalapenos and put in there too, and then we'll spread it all across that spiral cut backstrap. And then we will roll that thing up, tie it with butcher twine, wrap it in bacon, and then we will grill that. What, making you hungry, Andrew? Dude, it is world class. Grill that thing medium rare, and that bacon keeps all the juices in, and then slice that into about 1 inch thick slabs, and it's like a pinwheel with all of that goodness, all that goodness coming out of it. I mean, it is world class. And again, it's the backstrap. So guys, if you're listening, you can write it down. You spiral cut the backstrap, spicy Jimmy Dean or venison sausage or regular sausage, whatever, if you don't like things too spicy, cream cheese, caramelized onions, mushrooms, jalapenos. If you like real spicy, use regular jalapenos. I use the tame pickled jalapenos to give it flavor. Roll that bad boy up, tie it with butcher twine, wrap it in bacon. You can use toothpicks to hold the bacon to the loin, and then grill that thing medium rare. And let me tell you, that's world class. So, Glenn, there you go. Glenn, I want you guys to cook one of them. Well, no, what I want you guys to do is fix one like that and have it completely ready to go and ship it down to me so that I can grill it, and then we'll talk about how good your version is versus my version. So, Glenn, there's your whitetail recipe and favorite venison. All right, so let's see. This guy says, I had a buck patterned and coming in every day, and now only at night and not every day, like maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Any advice on how to hunt this buck? That's a great one, right? And that's what's happening right now, is that I'm assuming this is on some type of feed, either like a bait pile, maybe a mineral site, or maybe it's beans. But I'm assuming if he was coming in every day and then he's still coming into the same spot, but just not regular, either the food's drying up, but if it is a bait pile that you keep replenishing, yeah, you've got other food sources now. The acorns are starting to drop. In our swamp, the muscadines are really ripe right now. So they are getting off of those summer patterns. They've shed velvet. So my philosophy is we just talked about this. Go back and watch the Adam Hayes podcast, and you can hear we talk about this for 15 or 20 minutes. But my advice is don't panic, relax, start shifting things into where you're going to hunt these deer during the rut, and don't force it. Don't just get in there and hunt. He's obviously not moving in that particular area during daylight. So wherever you transition to rut hunt, whether that be a funnel, whatever it is you do rut-wise, if you know where he transitioned last year and how he was using the terrain, maybe it's a single travel corridor, a logging road, or something that he put scrapes on, go ahead and get ahead of that curve and get that prepared and ready to go, so that when we get towards that end of October, you're ready to get in there and kill him. But don't force it. Don't just get in there and hunt because the season opens or whatever it may be. Next up is any changes in equipment this year. Yes, I am going to be running the HHA sight. Really like their new sights. I've been running the black gold for a long time. I like the dial on the HHA a lot better. The pins, to me, seem to be brighter. I really like the sight. I like it a lot. It's very similar to the black gold, but those two features, the fact that the pins, to me, seem to be brighter, and I love their wheel. It's a lot easier to unlock and roll. And it's a double stack. I've got 0 to 30 on the top pin, bottom pin 40, and it just sets up really well. So that e-bikes, Steve Pinkston with Hardcore E-Bikes sent us down his new version, and I have personally not had an opportunity to get on it yet because I've been out of town. But my buddy Ryan Bowers, who's as hardcore a hunter, not just whitetail hunter in general, as there is, the dude lives in the swamp. He's got a giant place over on the Watery River here in South Carolina it's real swampy, and man, he's been putting that thing through the torture test and really likes it, and is actually going to buy one. He and Steve were talking today about him getting one. So yeah, I'm going to be running that new bike that Steve's got this fall. So those are the two new pieces of equipment. Next question. I hunt public ground in hill country and sweat like crazy getting in. Any recommendations on layering and keeping my feet warm? Yeah, I've hit on this. I think we did a whole podcast maybe on layering and clothing, but I'll go through it again. So we're gonna let me set the stage. It's 25 degrees out. You've got to go 4 miles deep on hill country in public. Well, I don't care if it's 0 degrees out. If you're walking in hill country a long way, and especially if you're carrying your bow and a stand and your pack, you are going to sweat. There is, I mean, well, you could take 6 hours getting in and go very, very slow and probably not sweat, but that's not practical for most people. So my recommendation is to use the minimum amount of clothing that you can wear to get you to the stand and pack the rest of it. If it was me, I would have on our lightweight base layer bottom. It doesn't have to be ASIO. It can be anything. But I would have, personally, obviously, I would have on our ASIO lightweight base layer bottoms, our bomb pant, because a lot of times that public land, there's a lot of brush, briars, that sort of thing. I would have the vents open. I would have the pockets unzipped, the thigh pockets, so I have a good vent there. Up top, depending on wind, we'll say it's 25 degrees and windy, I would have on our early season lightweight hoodie And depending on wind, again, I would probably have our core warmth vest on. In my pack, I would have our Sherpa pants. I would have our puffy jacket, and I would have my Sherpa jacket. And that would all be in my pack, as well as the mid-weight hoodie. I would have all that in the pack. And I would have a 5-gallon Ziploc bag. It doesn't have to be 5-gallon. Maybe they make a 2.5-gallon or 2-gallon. I would have what do you say, Wells? Do they make a 2.5-gallon? Yeah, he's going to Google. We'll get right back to you on that. Anyway, I would have some type of airtight Ziploc-type bag. And I would hike in there. I would get sweaty. I would take off the early season top. The thing I like about those is they dry so fast, and I would put that in that airtight bag. And then I would put on, they make a 2.5 gallon would do it. 2.5 Ziploc bag. The reason I want it Ziploc is because it's going to be sweaty, and I don't want to put a sweaty piece into my pack. So it would go in that Ziploc bag, and then that would go in the pack. Put the mid-weight hoodie on, climb up in the stand. As it gets cold, our full zip, as I cool down, our full zip pants are very easy. They zip all the way down. I could put those on at the bottom of the tree before I climb in, depending on how rushed I am and whether I've got to hang sticks in the stand. If I've got to hang all that, I'm going to keep all that in my pack. I'm going to get everything situated in my stand. I'm going to make sure I am secure with my safety harness. But those full zip pants, I'm going to pull those out as soon as I can and put them on. Maybe I'm only zipping them up halfway because I'm still a little bit warm. I'm going to put the puffy over my midweight hoodie. I'm going to have my Sherpa jacket out. And then as I cool off, I will be layering those items and zipping everything down. And with the windproof Sherpa stuff on top of the other stuff I've already got on, I'm going to remain perfectly warm in mid-20 degree temperatures for the whole day sit, no problem. So that would be my system for layering. Let's see. Next up, will ASIO be at any Illinois trade shows this year? Trade show update. Yes, we will. I think it's called the Illinois Big Buck Classic. It's the same one as the Iowa one. Is that right, Wells? Illinois Deer Classic. Yes, we will be there. And for all you guys listening around the whitetail world, we are going to be hitting between 20 and 25 trade shows this year. So if you want to come say hello, hang out, see the boys, come hang with us, come see the new gear, and we'd love to see you, talk with you, talk deer. We love that. So yes, we will be in Illinois, and we will be around the country. We get started at the ATA in January, got the giant one in Harrisburg again, and then we're hitting all the same ones we hit this year and adding a whole bunch more. So we're going to have actually 2 teams on the trade show circuit this year. So excited about that. How many times will you hunt a stand before it gets burnt out? Great question. And it is absolutely dependent on that particular stand. For example, if I am hunting a single buck travel corridor in October, or even an early season spot where I'm right on food, sometimes it can be a one and done. You know, especially on food, you get some does and stuff that come in there and blow and booger everything up. You don't get the buck killed. That may be a one and done. So once is all I will hunt that. Single buck travel corridor, scrape line that he's using. You know, you might can get away with that one 3, 4, 5 times depending on access before you really get it burn up. A bulletproof rut funnel where you've got a big bluff or a river or something. Maybe you're accessing by boat or you're coming up the bluff to get into the stand. You're only hunting it on the appropriate wind that's blowing your scent off of that bluff. Deer can't get downwind of you. Deer can't get behind your stand. Man, you can hunt that thing the entire season and never burn it out. You know, I've got one in Kentucky like that I could hunt every day of the rut and I'm never going to burn it up. So it just depends on the setup. General rule of thumb, in a spot where it's not a bulletproof access, 4 or 5 times, and you know they're smelling. The problem is they're smelling you when you get in there. Wells, here's a good example. Early season hunt, Wells and I talked about this the other day. I've done this, and it's messed myself up, and I'm not saying it messed Wells up, but this is something he and I talked about. That's almost 40 years of bow hunting experience versus 4 or 5 years of bow hunting experience. I mean, you've hunted your whole life, 7 years of bow hunting experience. Wells goes to Kentucky. Season opens Saturday morning. They're going to plan on hunting Saturday afternoon. Goes in on Friday, hangs his stand. Great idea, right? Getting in there early, getting everything set up, getting out of there. The issue with that, and I don't know that this happened, it can happen. This is just a point that I want to make, is if that buck comes into that feed area after dark or right at dark, he feeds around, he wanders over to where you hung that stand, he's going to smell where you were in there, and all of a sudden he's like, hadn't smelled that before, so I'm maybe not going to come back, or I'm going to delay coming back and come back in dark. So what I like to do on a situation like that is I do like to come in the middle of the day and hang that stand, but I want to be in that stand the first night that I hung it, especially on food, or even coming through those single buck travel corridor scrape lines, is don't necessarily get in there that first afternoon and hang it and let it sit. Go ahead and hunt it that first day when you hang it. So just a tip there. Let's see. Do you hunt feed trees in your swamp or other places? I used to do a lot of that, and I have had some luck with that, hunting white oaks when they first start falling. Now I kind of look for a spot that is maybe on a travel route, like a scrape line that also has some feed on it, some feed trees on it. I will hunt that particular setup. But as far as waiting until mid to late October, finding a tree that's dumping acorns and going in and hunting that tree, I don't do much of that. Always and never. Remember, those are the words we don't use. If I've got a trail camera on that tree, it's like a lone white oak or a lone sawtooth that's dumping acorns, and I got a buck's picture showing up on that thing in daylight 2 or 3 days in a row, you dang right, I'll be right in there on that feed tree killing him. But that's I guess an exception to the rule. What do you think about drones in hunting? Good question. Hot topic, especially on social media right now. Seems like there was a guy that did, I don't know, do y'all know the guy's name that did the drone survey for like a whole year? He's done some stuff. Josh Telker just had him on his podcast. I don't know the guy's name, but apparently he did like a huge drone study of whitetail movement and that sort of stuff. I mean, it becomes a personal ethical thing. You know, we always talk about if it's legal, go ahead and do it if you want to, and absolutely fine. I'm not going to get into that debate. I think that if you wound a buck, you should be allowed to do everything in your power to recover that buck. So I think if we've got drone technology, heck, if Elon Musk comes out with some kind of weird satellite thing where you can zoom into a property and you don't have to use a drone, man, knock yourself out, recover the deer. So yes, I am in for deer recovery, for drone recovery, using hounds, dogs, whatever it takes to find that deer if it is a wounded deer, and dispatching that deer as quickly as you possibly can. So that's my thought on the drones. Stick with us, guys. We got a really funny one here at the end. Our pal Meredith came up with another really good one, and I'm glad we got Wells and Andrew here to listen to this. All right, we're going to get through these other three, and then we're going to hit back to the funny one. But which ASIO camo pattern do I personally like the best? Guys, I love them both. It's so situational for me. When I was in Alberta, 100% of the camo I was wearing in Alberta was our new Wrap X. I absolutely love it for that style of hunting where I was doing some spot and stalk stuff. I was in some thick grasses, and then I was tree stand hunting in the afternoons. So absolutely love the RapX pattern for that situation. Going down to Texas in October, I'll be hunting brush blinds and some ground blinds. And I probably will take a little lock-on with me because we're on the New Aces River and there's some tall trees. So, again, I'll be running the RapX for that. When I get out to Kansas, I'm going to have a mixture of both. When I'm hunting the hardwoods here in the swamps here in South Carolina, I'm running the RapX. I'm running the Raptor because it does so well in the tree stand environment. So I don't have a favorite. I like both of them equally well. It just depends on the situation that I'm in. And again, I would encourage guys to have full sets of ASIO in both patterns. That would be my encouragement. All right, got an elk hunting question on the Mission Whitetail podcast. Elk hunting. And actually, our Cole Powell hit me up with this on Instagram the other day. So, Cole, I hope you're listening to this. Would you run the T2s or the mega meats on an elk hunt? And I would run the T2s. I feel like elk is at that point where you really need to pay attention to penetration. You need to give that more consideration. So 2 things on an elk hunt: penetration and distance. A lot of times you can have 50, 60-yard shots on an elk hunt. I don't think there's any debate. You can ask John Dudley, who's a lot better bow shot than I am, which one's more accurate, the T2 or the Mega Meat. I think he would argue that the T2 is more accurate because it has less surface area in the wind. You've got 2 blades flying through the air versus 3 blades flying through the air. So distance shooting, if you're going to have longer shots, T2. If penetration is a concern, then I would definitely do the T2. The T2 is my new fixed blade. I'll shoot a Cape Buffalo with that T2, no problem. I love that thing for penetration. If we are talking standard whitetail hunting at standard whitetail ranges, there is nothing that I have seen on the planet more devastating than the Mega Meat. I'm going to have both heads in my quiver. And just like I used to have a fixed blade head and my mechanicals, I'm going to have at least 1 T2 and 2 or 3 of the Mega Meats. And if we're at standard whitetail type stuff, Mega Meat, 100%. Head is incredible. T2 for if I'm thinking I might get into some serious quartering shots, or there could be some brush involved, or I've got to have some distance, then I'm going to run the T2. Next question: how do you hunt a super high-pressured property? I'm going to take a sip of Lipton green iced tea here. How do you hunt a super high-pressured property? Very good question, and we all get, or most of us, a lot of us, that is reality, right? We're in hunt clubs, we're hunting public ground. The principles of hunting do not change. If it's the rut, I'm going to have established where my rut funnels are. So I'll leave it at that, because that's when a lot of people hunt is rut. So I'm going to, in that high-pressured system, high-pressured property, I'm going to identify my rut funnels. Then, instead of trying to pattern the deer, I'm going to try and pattern the majority of the hunters. If that takes 2 days of sitting in the parking lot, getting there at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and seeing what those guys are doing, I'm going to do that. 9 times out of 10, most folks are doing that daylight, 3-hour sit out in the middle of the day, and back in the afternoon for a 3-hour sit and out at dark. So what I'm going to do in that situation, a prime example is our hunt club here in South Carolina, and I'm sure some of our hunt club members listen to this podcast, so Hope I'm not hammering myself in the old pork chop, but I probably am. Man, I can't tell you the number of times that I would go in and it was just unbelievable. The gate opens, all the trucks come into the home site, the four-wheelers crank up, they all go out, sit to 9:30, the four-wheelers come back in, all the trucks leave, the gate closes, and voila, the deer start moving. The same thing happens those deer figure all that out, and they associate very, very, very quickly. It's like my fat bulldog Dale. When I go into the pantry and I open the bread bag, that little son of a gun is sitting right there, and he's being a good boy. He's sitting down looking at me because he wants a treat. He knows that when I walk in that pantry, there's food, and he comes right in there. Same thing here. Those deer know when they hear that four-wheeler crank up, when they hear that gate open, when they hear those trucks roll in and roll out, they know when it's safe and when it's not. So look at the hunters on those high-pressure systems and try to avoid what everybody else is doing, and you can have success that way. Last question comes from our dear friend Meredith. What was her nickname? The Unicorn. Yeah, that's one of them. We probably can't say that on air, what the nickname was. Don't ask me, Meredith. I'm not telling. Oh, yeah. Not Andrew saying don't repeat. She is going to get pissed. Okay, never mind. All right, Meredith's question is, if you I really want to oh, I know how I'm going to spin this. If you were in a horror movie with Michael Myers, if you're in a horror movie with your employees and it was a Michael Myers horror movie, who would be the one to fall down running away and get killed? Who would get killed saving someone's life? And who would make it until the final credits? All right. I don't really need to think about this too much because I pretty much got it. First and foremost, Andrew right now would not be in the horror film because he is so busy that he does not have time to being a horror film. I'm just hoping that we can keep Andrew on board of ASIO for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll be okay. So Andrew is 100% out because he has been staring at a computer for the last 72 hours straight. Would you say, Andrew? Okay. Yeah, he's been hammering out the Bobby core. So Andrew is out of the horror movie. Shane is definitely getting killed the first 30 seconds of the film because he is going to walk up to Michael Myers and slap him in the face right off the rip. So he is getting killed first. Cole, without a doubt, is tripping and falling because, first of all, he's going to be scared to death. Second of all, his shoelaces are always untied. So he is tripping and falling and getting killed. Zach is definitely trying to help Cole and Shane, trying to bring them back to life because he's just a great dude all around. So he's going to get killed trying to save a life. JD, I have not had enough time around him. I think he is pretty resourceful, and I think he would probably make it to the end. I would have to say Wells, just because it would be between Wells and JD who makes it to the end. Wells has got really good common sense and thinks things through, and I think would be a little bit craftier than Michael Myers. So I think he would make it to the end. I'm obviously not looping myself into this, but of course I would say not only will I make it to the end, I'm going to kill Michael Myers. But yeah, between JD and Wells, if I had more time, I've only known JD for about 3 or 4 months. So I'm saying one of those two is going to make it to the end. Just JD strikes me as tough and capable. Wells is crafty and would be able to outthink Michael Myers. Don't y'all love how I keep saying Michael Myers? Yeah, it's good. There you go, Meredith. That's how the ASIO team would break down in the horror movie. As always, guys, we love the questions. Keep them coming. We got a whole bunch. These were just the ones that I could get out today during the podcast. All right, boys, until next time, thank you all very much.